Okay, so you guys should now be okay at turning your improper fractions into mixed numbers. You divide the top by the bottom, see how many wholes you get, and then have your remainder left over. So 5/4 is the same thing as 1 whole 1/4. So we've done that. You should remember that. You should have just watched that video. What we have to do though in maths, once we learn how to do something one way, we've got to learn how to do it backwards, right? We're not satisfied with only going forwards. We want to be able to do the same thing but in reverse. So what you've got to do in this lesson is just take your mixed number and put it back into an improper fraction. Okay, you'll be doing a lot of that before you plus and minus and times and divide your fractions together. So you've got to get a handle on it. So here is your glossary information. Okay, so if you want to copy all this down with these examples or with this example, you can, and it'll help you if you ever do a test. Okay, so just 2 steps. Um, I think it's really, really good though, again, to think about what is going on here. Okay, we've got this fraction, it's 2.5, and really this question, if we're turning it into an improper fraction, it's asking you the question, how many halves are there in total in 2 wholes and 1/2? So if you want to do it visually for a start till you get the hang of it, you can. Okay, so I've represented these 2 wholes as whole circles, but because this question is about halves, this is a halves question because there's a 2 in the denominator. It's the most important part of the fraction. We need to chop these wholes in half. All right, so that one's in half, that one's in half, and now all you really have to do is count up your halves. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we can say that 2.5 is the same thing as having 5 halves. If you don't want to do it visually and have your circles and cut them in half and do things like that, you can follow these 2 steps. You just get your whole number and you multiply it by the denominator. All right, we're going 2 by 2. And that's where these 4 pieces come from. And once we get those 4 pieces, we add it to the half we've already got, and that gives us our 5 halves. Some people like to show they're working out visually like this, like a little flowchart. They show that they're timesing that, and then they're plussing that. That ends up with the 5 on top. Okay, so we're really just looking for how many halves. You shouldn't change the denominator at this point. This question is how many halves are there? So there should be a 2 on the bottom. And then to find the top, you can follow these steps or draw a diagram. But either way, 2.5 is the same thing as 5 halves. Okay, to make sure you just got a handle on this process, we'll just do a few more. So the first one, we've got 3 wholes and 3/5. And at the end of the day, we want our answer to be fifths, right? We just want to know how many fifths we're working with here. So if you want to do it visually, you can, right? You could visualize these 3 wholes. Then we kind of have to try and chop these into 5 equal pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5. Okay, and what you can see here is that there are 15 pieces. Now, because we're chopping all our wholes into 5 pieces each, we've got 15 pieces. Doesn't take into account the fact that we've got 3 other pieces already in this fraction, right? So we have to add them on. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, and 3 there, and that makes 18 fifths. Of course, if you want to just do it the quick way, you should know that we're chopping these 3 wholes into 5 pieces each, so we're going 3 times 5. Right, that makes 15. We've already got 3/5 from this non-whole part of it here. We add that on, and that's where the 18 comes from. And it's probably good to get the hang of just doing it mathematically because I don't want to draw a diagram of this one. And I especially don't want to draw a diagram of this one here. I'd have to draw 100 circles and then chop them all up into 3 pieces each. Okay, so with this one here, it's a bit funky because it's a whole number and an improper fraction already, but I reckon we can hack it. We just want to know how many quarters there are in this question here. And all we need to think about is the fact that we're chopping these 10 wholes, these 10 whole things into quarters. So there's going to be 4 pieces in each of them. So we're going 4 times 10 to get 40 pieces from that. And we've already got 7 on top. Right, so 40 plus 7 makes 47 quarters. And for the last one, we're looking for thirds. Okay, so we've got 100 pies or whatever chopping those 100 pies into 3 pieces each would give us 300 pieces of pie, right? We're just timesing these together. And we're not just timesing them together though, right? You got to remember these are whole things being chopped up into 3 pieces each. That's 300. 2 more on top means this is 302 thirds. Okay, so that's the other skill that you'll need to get through today's work. So once you've watched the 2 videos, you can go and do your worksheet, and we'll see you on Google Classroom.